is Julissa. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming back to my channel. Thank you so much to everybody who's watching and listening right now on Spotify. Today is Wednesday, November 19, 2025. I wanted to come here and speak about this burning that happened at I think it was a Japanese temple, a Chinese temple, excuse me. And this happened, and now the officials are basically blaming the tourists. Okay, so I'm gonna speak about that because it's crazy, and just like that your life can change at any moment. Before I continue, I want to say thank you so much to everybody who has been following me using Apple Podcasts. It really helps me as a creator, and everybody who has been following the podcast on Spotify over here, thank you so much, everybody, for following the podcast. It helps me as a creator, and of course everybody who is watching this video right now on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. If you guys follow me on Instagram, and I believe on the Threads app, I think I use I think I post there on Twitter or X. Yeah, that's what I mean. On X. I just don't like calling it X for some reason. But on Twitter, you guys know what app I'm speaking about. You guys can probably tell. Mostly on Instagram, I think I share this. Lately I've been visiting a lot of museums, right? I like looking at what artists did in the past and what's coming in the future. Sometimes they do have artists that are still living. They have exhibits and things like this. So I like looking at all of that and just learning about, different mediums, different type of things that people did in the past, or how they created these and things like this. But there's something called museum etiquette, okay, and we have to be so careful, right? Because museums and art historians, and as we know it, they spend so much time conserving something. Like, I went to the MoMA Museum, I think it was 2 weeks ago in New York, to see a painting from Picasso, to see a painting by the painting that Van Gogh, I think he did it when he was in the hospital, like on his last days. He painted the Starry Night. I think that's one of his paintings to conserve them. And this happened years ago. And to conserve it and to have it in an exhibit, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of money. The painting is worth so much money right now. So yeah, there are gonna be etiquettes, and there's gonna be you can touch anything. And like last week I went to another museum, and it was about more fashion, right? And I wanted so bad. I wanted to see the inside of the garment so bad because it was a fashion thing. But those signs said don't touch it, don't touch the garments, please be respectful, things like this. So you're gonna follow that. Obviously you're not gonna be a child and ignore the rules, right? Because you respect all of that. But not long ago I also came here and told you about the big I think it was Swarovski crystal share that was on display. I think it was in Paris, and one of the tourists came by and actually sat on the share and basically damaged something that cost so much money. And there was like a debate about it on the internet, whether or not they should be the ones to blame for. I have seen a lot of shares on display lately when I go visit museums, and one thing I see is they're enclosed, right? They have kind of like a little tape on the bottom on the floor so that people know they're not, even though it's a chair and our natural thing is to go and sit, they make the effort to put a lot of notices, and so that people know this is not for you to come and sit down, right? Because we don't want you to damage it. So things like that you respect, especially when you go to visit something, especially it's a big museum like the MoMA, right? Or even small museums, you always have to be so respectful because, it's a lot of effort. It's a lot of things involved. Just to get a piece in the museum, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of, coordination, things like this, and to have it for a period of time, you don't want to touch, especially when the artist is like long gone, right? They cannot fix it, they cannot duplicate it. So you are respectful like that. But I don't know what is going on lately that we are seeing like this is happening again. Sorry. And recently I saw crazy images coming out of China, and is because a whole temple burned down because a tourist used the wrong type of incense. And I was like, wow, can you imagine that person right now? Like, that's crazy. So let me read you exactly what's going on, because the images are very terrifying. And how can that little thing that they had in their hand completely destroy the entire temple, So a fire likely started by a tourist, quote unquote, irresponsible candle use and clumsy incense handling broke out in the Chinese temple Wenshan Pavilion on Wednesday, November 12th. So just a week ago this happened. In the video, flames thick as black smoke can be seen engulfing the sacred three-story building. The temple, which was commissioned in 2008 and built in 2009, sat on Fenghon Mountain in the Jiangsu province. I do apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, and I'm sure I am. So that's why I'm apologizing. Excuse me, I just lost the thing here. So it sat there in that mountain since it was built in October 2009. Luckily, no casualties were reported to result from the blaze. The temple also did not contain any ancient architectural remains, so nothing kind of like of historic value kind of got lost. But this was built in 2008, and the whole thing burned down. I don't know if it's almost like, as I'm reading this, I'm thinking maybe it's a prophecy. Maybe it's something that was, because it's so kind of hard to understand that a little thing, and I know fire can break, but like a little thing used by a person can cause so much damage, especially when we all know museums and places where a lot of people visit, they're filled with stuff, right? I have gone to museums that could be like me and a couple of other people, like maybe 3-4 people, and you see more securities than people sometimes. Like it's like one person in every session, right? Because they're making sure nobody's touching things, right, that they're not supposed to be touching. So and they have a lot of cameras and things like this, but a lot of security, that's what I mean. So it's very surprising. So the fire was quickly contained and did not spread to nearby forest area. So that's good, right? That's good that it was contained, but to destroy the entire temple, and this is what I'm talking about, being a little this thing being a little prophecy, right? Kind of like, wow, it was done specifically just for that temple, so God knows what's going on there, right? And it says here that the Wenshan Pavilion has been managed by the neighborhood Jongjin Temple. The original building dates back to many centuries. Though the temple current building were reconstructed in the 1990s, local authorities made it clear that further action will be taken as the investigation progresses. So they're coming for that person. So wow. The safety measure will also be increased to minimize the future fire risk. I mean, I'm telling you, the images are crazy. I'm gonna see if I'm probably gonna use some of the images, but I'm gonna put it here so you guys can see it. You see my line there? I'm so sorry. There you go. That's crazy. I mean, that's such an iconic image of a temple that probably people will see it from like far away, just getting there, and to see it turn out to be like that. Once the investigation is complete, restoration work in the traditional architectural style of the site will commence, they're saying. The Wenshan Pavilion blaze comes after another fire occurred at the century-old Chadan Great Buddha Temple in Gansu Province in 2023. The site was nearly burned entirely to the ground, save for a giant Buddha statue that was left partially intact. Wow. So let me know, guys, what you think about this. I'm just so like, it's very interesting to read all of this. Very interesting, but they're saying it was a tourist that used the wrong type of incense. when you go, you know what, I remember going to this, the Duomo in Milan, and I remember how everybody who would walk in, they get this little candle, right? And then they have like sessions of big, I'm sure this is everywhere, like in this type of churches, but every session had like a big station of just candles, right? And people will get the candle or buy or something, and they will go light candles and do the prayers and things like this. And there's really not a lot of people like managing that. People kind of like, they know what to do with it, and they kind of go and do it. And you have to think about it. That's very risky too. It's risky because there's people always perhaps they're not paying attention. They're overwhelmed by the beauty of the church, and they're not really looking. They've never been there before. Maybe a lot of kids do, so anything can happen. So let me read. I wanted to read some of the comments. So give me one moment. If we can get to the comments in a second, because wow, I'm looking at the video now from far away. It's like it's an image. It's like an image to remember. Like you will never not see that. Especially maybe for the locals that has seen that for years and standing there, seeing it built since 2009. So I guess it's not gonna let me look at the comments. Let me just see if I can get more information. And I do apologize for to be searching this right now as I'm doing the video. So they are going for it. They're saying it was caused by irresponsible tourists handling the candles. Like the image that's coming to my head is when I went to Milan and I entered the Duomo with my my friends that were there with me for school. I remember them just grabbing candles and they're like, "Do you want mine?" And I don't do any of that. So I'm like, "No, you guys go do your thing. I'm good." And there was nobody. I don't remember them paying for it though, but I don't know if they did. But I remember it was just such a normal thing to do. Maybe this is a very ongoing thing too. And people just grab the candle, do the fire thing, and they have sessions of candles, and people will go and do that. But I think now, what this is telling us is that they need more people tending to that, right? Because just one little mistake can make a huge damage, right? Let me just see what it says about the tourists. They're just saying it was a responsible tourist. I remember how when the people, I think it was Paris, when they sat on that chair, the Swarovski chair, made with crystals, and the security team released the footage, right? Because it was caught on camera. And I remember saying, I came here and did a video, and I was like, what would they do that? They're trying to shame people, right? Just do your investigation. You don't have to release it. But here they're also saying irresponsible tourists, right? And it's like that whole, I mean, you make a lot of these places like museums, like temples, and when you open it up for visitors, you are going to get tourists, obviously, especially if the place becomes iconic. So is it really the tourists, or you just don't have enough staff to manage everything? Because when you're dealing with people that come from different places, different countries, they're not used to see how things work. So if you're not telling them what to do, they're going to do, they're going to do what they assume is the best thing, and mistakes happen. That's why you always have to tell people. You want something to be done the right way. Sometimes you also have to just communicate that, right? So I don't like when they, there's this, and maybe I'm saying this because I've been going to a lot of museums. I don't like this whole, Well, it's the tourist's fault, right? It's not us, right? It's them. They came here, they didn't know how to manage it. The same thing with that chair, right? If you don't tell people not to sit on it, put a big sign, cross it out on the floor and say, a penalty for sitting on the chair. Nobody's allowed to sit on the chair. It's not gonna maintain the way or something like this. You have to make the rules clear, especially when you open your place for tourists. You open the place for people to come and visit. So I wonder what's gonna happen to them. They're saying that they're gonna do a full investigation. So let me know, guys, what you think about this. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming back to the channel. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Have a good day. God bless. Hi everybody, this is Julissa. Thank you so much for coming to my YouTube channel. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day, everybody. God bless.